Welcome to The Good News. The Good News is sponsored by the Full Gospel Businessmen in Canada. This organization is worldwide, and what we do is we share personal testimonies. It's as non-religious as we can be. We want to hear how God has worked in a person's life. So today our guest is Paul George.
Hey, Neil.
Welcome, Paul. And he's going to start things out by sharing the background in his life, where he grew up, his family life, and then how the Lord got a hold of him.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks. Excuse me. Thank you for having me on the program. I'm humbled and honored. Growing up in Regina, I spent a lot of years in this town and seeing the program, knowing of the program, and never really thinking I'd ever be on the program. So it's exciting for me. And my wife and I, my family, we live up in Slave Lake, Alberta. We transplanted from Saskatchewan back in 2013 from the Kamsack area. And I'm a clergyman, and I'm also a technologist. I own an IT firm called Northern IT up in Slave Lake, Alberta. And I do a lot of remote support, that kind of thing. So never a dull moment that way. But I am a Riders fan.
Right on. That's good.
And I often chant, "Go Riders, go." And take the Pats with you. And no, I'm just kidding. But long before I was ever a Riders fan, I was a Winnipeg Jets fan, born and raised in Winnipeg. And as a young Air Force brat, my father moved us out to Quebec for a few years and then retired in Regina in '78 when he left the forces.
You had said he was an Air Force career
An
man.
AME, Air Force maintenance engineer. And so I grew up on the Air Force bases, CFB Winnipeg and then Chicoutimi and Bagotville in Quebec. So saw a little bit of Canada and enjoyed it. And I come to Regina in '78. And, 7 kids, and I was the baby. So, always trying to measure my identity by older brothers. Mm-hmm. And really found a home in Regina for a lot of years. Really enjoyed it. And as a product of divorce, my dad separated and then, remarried. And I gained a stepbrother. But it was, he was a good man. Good Catholic from the southeast of Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. My family's in the Bellegarde Redverse area, southeast corner.
Both your mom and dad from that area?
Well, no, my dad separated. I was about 4. And they were in Winnipeg, right? But our family, I remember always going back to Bellegarde on the weekends, right? So whether we were in Winnipeg, it was always long trips to Bellegarde and back, and that's kind of the way I grew up. And summertime, a lot of time on the farm, a lot of uncles' farms. And, it was good. It was very, very good. So, I had the records of the older brothers to beat and everything, right? And so I dropped out of school earlier. That was one of the things I'm not proud of, but I got involved with, the social thing. I was always a very social guy, mm-hmm. Life of the party kind of guy, right? I'm still kind of a joker. But it led me down some crazy roads, some crazy times. And I come to be about, 18, 19, and realized there was an emptiness there, that all the confusion, all the relocating and the life that I'd lived and the family that I'd had and the friends I'd made and the crazy stuff that I was involved in didn't fill, there was a void there. Mm-hmm. I think everybody's got that void, right?
Did your mom and dad have a connection with God growing up in the home?
No, pretty much unchurched. Strong Catholics, Catholic folk, good folks, but not real practicing or anything to that effect. Although I spent some time as an altar boy. When my dad retired in '78, we were in Bellegarde, Saskatchewan. My dad was going to try his hand at farming because he and a brother had been the only 2 in the family that didn't farm. My dad went off to the military, and my uncle became a banker, so that was bad. No, I'm just kidding. That was really bad. But anyways, I guess when he retired, he was going to get back to trying his hand at farming. So that was interesting. And I attended the school in Bellegarde, which was, it's a French community, right? French Canadian community, and it was tough to come from. Even though we'd been in Quebec, everyone kind of, and my dad being French, my family being French. In fact, Bellegarde today is a French immersion experience, and I think, I'm not sure if the program still runs, but effectively they would take students from La Belle Provence and bring them to Bellegarde.
Like exchange students?
No, college students, like
okay.
as an immersion experience, and they'd teach them the culture and, the community. It's an interesting place, Bellegarde, yeah. Saskatchewan. And my grandfather's house, the house I went to all the time as a kid, that's their operating place, So it's kind of neat. Coming back to Regina this weekend, where I'm here for the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship, their national convention, and. I'm actually a chapter president from Slave Lake,
okay.
And we have great fellowship up there. But it's overwhelming to be in Regina this weekend. This is the place where I experienced so much life. I've lived a lot of life in this city, and got into a lot of trouble in this city, but got saved here.
So program. We're back to 19 now.
Yeah, 18 years old, and on Angus Street. 2100 block Angus in an apartment building, and I didn't have a good life. I was always involved with the drug culture and drinking, etc. But I had come in from the Cornwall Center, our hangout back in those days. Go and have coffee at the Cornwall, go hang out at the Cornwall Center, up to all kinds of shenanigans there. But I come in from downtown, and this is how I got saved, Neil. I sat down, I cracked open a beer. And I was pretty proud of myself, sitting there in my nice apartment, looking around at my stuff and thinking, I'm on top of the world here. I got it. I got the world by the tail, And I put my boots up on the coffee table and I flipped through the channels. And all of a sudden I hear this guy. I stop on this channel. I didn't know what an evangelist was, a televangelist. I didn't know anything about that. But I stumble across this guy talking about Jesus. And something gripped me. Here I am. Now everything is transforming. Right then and there, in that moment, transformation is occurring. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but he told me about Jesus, how he came, how I was hopeless and had no future, that I was separated from the God that created me, and that my future, outside of Jesus, was going to be eternally separated from everything that's good, everything that's pure, everything that's light, everything that is. I mean, it's in the presence of God, cut off forever, unless I find the solution which Jesus came to provide. And I don't fully understand it, but his work on Calvary, I learned that morning, was the substitution for my failures. And it was being offered to me, the transformation that needed to take place was being offered to me for free if I would just believe.
So he took you from having everything to realizing you had nothing.
Less than nothing yet. In a moment, in an instant. And I really kind of lost myself in that moment because I knew that the words that he was saying was true. I'll tell you one thing, put all the philosophy and theology aside, I knew the words that this guy was saying on the TV were 100% true. They're ringing in my heart and my spirit. And before I knew it, I slipped down to the floor and I wept and I cried. You know that real messy, snotty crying? I'm sorry. Can I say snot on TV?
So, yeah, you sure can. And
right.
So the Spirit of God came upon you.
Oh, and I just wept and I cried my way through and I repented.
And that wasn't you. You're not the crying.
That's not me, no. That's not me with the tattoos and the torn off T-shirts and the jacket and my wallet on a chain and my hair down to my,
and the drugs and the beer,
the drugs and the beer and the
girls
smokes and all that. Yeah, that wasn't me. That was something. And I gave my heart to the Lord that morning. I gave my heart to the Lord, and then I stayed up all night, just excited. I had to tell everybody. I went to my. I hate to say this, but I say this on TV, but I went to my drug dealer.
Sure.
I gave him back everything that I had, the bit that I had, and I said, and I expected, that ideology that, once you're in forever. The only way out is death. It's this highly romanticized concept, right? And I kind of went to talk to this fella, and I thought, I was ready for anything. I thought, this is going to be a fight, but I'll take my licks and I'll go my way. And I said, anything that's out there that I didn't provide for you, I said, I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm done. And I thought there was going to be a bit of a scramble, But he just laughed. He said, what? I said, yeah. I said, I just became a Christian. And he laughed, and he said, oh, don't worry. In a couple of weeks, he'll be back.
How long had you known this man?
Oh, a couple of years, a year or so, maybe a year.
So this was a huge surprise for him.
Oh, for him, it was like, for anybody that knew me, to think that I would become religious or to be.
I'll just throw this in. When God got a hold of me, I was a thief. And I had acquired about $10,000 worth of cash that was not mine. Yeah. And when God got a hold of me, I started thinking, how am I going to give this back? And anyway, carry on with your
awesome.
Story.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's like going to the drug dealer.
Yeah.
What am I going to do about this?
You gotta face the maker, I guess. And that guy had made me a small time criminal, and I didn't miss walking away from that. Just that transformation. Something had changed in my heart. So I started that was my first exposure to Christianity, and. I had a lot of years with a lot of ups, and not everything was perfect from that day forward. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of, I've lived a lot of life in Regina. But that was really something to be.
It sure was.
And I didn't understand it until just a couple of years ago. And I testified about that day a lot of times, because subsequently, one of the first things I wanted to do was know the Word, right? So, my life really changed, especially every spare moment I had, I was in the Word. I was just, it compelled me just to, there was areas of my life that I wanted to give to God, and I had to pray things like David did in Psalms. He said, Lord, make me to go in thy ways, Lord. He said, change my heart, oh God, And there were things that weren't natural to me, and people used to always say, oh, you're just being brainwashed. And I used to love when people say that to me. I'd say, yeah. I said, man, I need my brain washed.
That is funny.
It's a good thing I said, and we argue with people, they talk about the existence of God, or they get all theological about it. I could care less. I know that the transformation that occurred in my life has given me life and light. And it's so awesome to be confused, and to be hopeless, and be so deceived into thinking that he who dies with the most toys wins, to actually meeting the Creator of heaven and earth, and to have him come in and take up residence in your heart and begin the transformation process. It's such an adventure. It's such a great life.
I'm just having this thought, how that man you watched on TV, his approach got into you right away. Do you have this? I've run into this in my whole life. I always feel an anointing that comes to you becomes yours. That then you can go back and you can touch other people in the same way. Like you look, to me, you look like the guy that is the aggressor. You're not defending.
Oh no.
Your religion.
No. I don't know if some of your viewers, if they stumble upon this, they might recognize me from back as, pastor by day, cabbie by night. Mm-hmm. It was, I just love meeting people, and I used to love the conversations that would come up. I had some very genuine conversations, and it was always so easy to tell people, because God's so good, to meet Jesus, to know Jesus, to be possessed by that revelation that eternity is real, and that I've been adopted. I've been transformed out of the kingdom of darkness into His marvelous light. It's really something. And there is no, not because challenges don't come, because they do. There's so much I could tell you about, but I imagine we're probably, getting to the end of time, but
nope.
I want to tell you about Full Circle.
Lots of time here.
That man that I was watching turned out to be Jimmy Swaggart.
Okay.
And today my son Adam actually works for Brother Swaggart.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of Sun Life Broadcasting, but Adam's actually one of the editors. It's not because I, went and pushed him to go to Baton Rouge, but it just the way God weaves things together, And, my son, he's got a beautiful ministry and to know that, that's where I got started. And I didn't know, I couldn't tell you what a TV evangelist was. I just kind of didn't even get the joke when people would imitate and mock people on TV, like they'd imitate preachers or whatnot. I didn't even get it, I was that removed, I was that unchurched, But to be all of a sudden, to be okay. To go from that feeling of condemnation to be the feeling that destruction is always just right around the corner, that it's going to end for you, and it's going to all of a sudden that pressure just being relieved and being lifted and feeling okay, when it was so not okay prior to that, was a definite transforming.
It was a lot of work to keep that feeling pushed back inside of you.
No. I mean, it was gone. Like wrestling with that fear.
What I meant is before this experience.
Yeah.
You were pushing that away.
I think people deal with fear of succeeding, fear not of succeeding, obviously, fear of failing, fear of the walls caving in, fear of, and to me, to all of a sudden have Jesus there. It's hard to explain. And I'll tell my kids all the time, I say, you can't see him, but he's there. And you got to have faith. You've got to trust. And I kind of tell my grandkids, I say, you're on an adventure to find out about Jesus, to meet this Jesus, because you will meet him one day. It's just that, the world's a crazy place. It's a crazy upside down place. And he's busy right now. He's very, very, very busy right now. He's preparing a place that's like this earth, but not like this earth. It's exciting, man.
This is a good place to lead the audience in a prayer of salvation.
Amen.
So
Absolutely.
Why don't you do that? And if you're, go ahead and share the understanding of being filled with Holy Spirit too. And
sure.
Just pray whatever the Lord gives you.
All right. There is a power. It's a powerful person, and his manifestation in the person of the Holy Spirit is there constantly knocking on the door of our heart. And for anybody that might be viewing this program, that feels that conviction, that invitation, that knocking on the door, that Jesus is there. He's here right now. I feel his presence.